Welcome back to the Tottenham on Tour Advent Calendar. It is day number 5, Cinco, and I'm here with the usual co-host, Mr. Daigle. We're going to really great guests here, and we're going to go through a great bit of history with you. We're causing trouble already, Mr. Rez. It's okay, it's Christmas. We're here to cause trouble and merriment. But firstly, Ahi, Brian, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to actually think. Is this Marlon's first time on Tottenham on Tour? Is it a debut for my God, the first of many.
What's wrong with you, Brian?
Mate, do you know what? I'm going to have a word with HR and our booking agents.
What's that?
We'll sort that. But, it's me. It's me.
Brian, it only took until the 5th of December for you to get me on.
You know what? They always say the 5th is the best.
Hello? Yes. Yes, it's awkward. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Listen, Marlon, as you know, and I'm not going to give any players away, but there's a specific reason why I made sure you were the very first person that we had on here. But the question, Ben, was, how am I?
How
great.
Are you?
Great
stuff. And Mr. Marlon, seeing as we've waited so long to put you on a debut, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Finally on Tottenham on Tour. I've made it.
Made it. I don't think you have, to be honest. We're bad over here. We're bad. And we're finally Mr. Resonator himself, the Lord of the Shelf. How are you doing, sir?
I'm sick. I'm sick.
Well, wishing you better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wishing you better. But do you know what cheers everyone up, Ben? And might make Ben for a lot better. It's that time of the show. It's the Christmas cracker joke. And let's see who's got the best one. And we always go guess first. Let's go with the sick man first. Sick man, what's your Christmas cracker joke?
I don't know. Oh, damn. Go to Marlon first.
I even said to you before recording, have your Christmas cracker joke ready.
I forgot. I had it on the screen and it's gone. I've got to find it again.
Okay. So this is the blooper edition. It took to day 5 to get to the blooper edition. Marlon, your Christmas cracker joke.
All right, let me go with one. Why did nobody bid for Donna and Blitzen on eBay?
Ooh. I don't know, but I want to know.
They were too dear.
You have to love Christmas cracker jokes. You have to love Christmas cracker jokes.
Yeah.
Found it.
Well, guess what? You found it just at the right time, brother. So what is your Christmas cracker joke, Rez?
What the penguins wear on their heads?
Oof. Not a clue.
No idea? No?
No.
Ice caps. I'm here all hour.
Yeah.
Right, Ben, who's going next? You or me?
I will go next. Let's have a laugh. What's Santa Claus's favourite type of music?
Nope. Go on.
Rap.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm happy I've gone last.
All day.
I'm happy I've gone last because I've been waiting for this moment where I can kind of find a day where I can find a joke where I can incorporate my arch nemesis. So, why wouldn't Daniel Levy eat at the pasta restaurant?
I don't know.
Because it would cost a pretty penny.
Nice.
I win. I win. People in the comments need to put who won the Christmas cracker joke. It was Ebenezer Scrooge, so it's kind of the same person, just different time. Just different time. Right. Let's get into this. We will be bringing up 5 players that wore the number 5 for Tottenham Hotspur. There's some illustrious players here, and there's also an icon for 3 of us. An icon. But we're going to start with, how can I even say, Mr. Tottenham, or not Mr. Mr. England, and a huge Tottenham Hotspur player, Sir Alf Ramsey, who obviously led England to their only World Cup. But people say it was West Ham that won it. Behind every great team is a great manager. And that manager was a Tottenham Hotspur player. Ben, obviously you always go first. What have you got to say about Mr. Ramsey?
I mean, this was a man that grew up in the school of Arthur Rowe. And it's just like push and run. The reason we're all salivating about the way, for example, we're playing at the moment in terms of the way we play football, this guy was part of the nucleus that invented it, half and run with the push and run side. 2 league titles in a row. He didn't just win 1 league, he won 2 in a row, second division and then the first division. And then, of course, that amazing England side. Everyone knows him for that, but this was the start of total football. This is when football was played on mud pitches, but they still played football with style and class. So it's just like, to be able to do that on some of the pitches they did is remarkable. So, and he's a total legend. 226 games for Tottenham. So he's a Tottenham legend, as well as winning those. So it's great to hear. But somewhat, Tottenham have made football and invented England's World Cup win.
What else can you say? I mean, listen, like we were discussing, is there, I can't remember a player that won the second division, then the first division as a player back to back. I mean, obviously now that is unheard of.
And also, just to interject, he also did the same feat with Ipswich Town as a manager.
You know what? Marlon right now is saying, "You bastard, I had this ready in the chamber." I can see that look. You can just see that look. You can see the fire in his eyes.
Sorry about that. This is what you need on Tottenham on Tour, right? Interruption skills.
Interruption and mind reading skills.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, I can't say much more than what Ben said at him. My grandpa would have remembered him. I remember my grandpa speaking about him. But anyone that plays 226 games and wins 2 titles, whether it had been second division, first division, or 2 first, he goes down in history, don't you, Rez?
Yeah, I mean, you can't talk about Sir Alf Ramsey. I mean, look, he was knighted for a reason. You know, he's the only English manager ever to win to lift the World Cup. Many have come close. I think the only England manager that I felt, the only English manager or manager that could have managed England that I felt could have replicated that was passed over by the FA, and that was Brian Clough. I think that if Brian Clough had become England manager instead of Ron Greenwood, I reckon that England would have lifted the World Cup at some point in the 80s, but it wasn't to be. Even Bobby Robson couldn't get that close. What more can you say? Lifted a World Cup, lifted a first division title as a player and as a manager. He won everything. You know, a lot of the groundwork for the modern game was laid during his time. You know, football is an evolution, and he was one of the principal people that sort of changed English football and probably world football to what it is now. I mean, I was looking at the history of football the other day, and you know, stuff like football used to be played in a 1-3-4. What's it called? Formation or whatever, you know, with 4 like 9. Yeah, they used to play a 1-0-9 formation, you know, like all attack, you know, they used to play with doubles, and it was with stuff like the push and run side and things that changed it to a more defensive midfield attacking situation, and things like what Alf Ramsey did with making sure that players were professional, starting that idea of actually looking after themselves both on and off the pitch. All of those things were innovations that he brought in. It's why Ipswich Town went from the 3rd tier of English football to champions in 3 years, and no one else has ever replicated that achievement. The man is one of the most important figures in football history, and he was a Tottenham Hotspur player.
And Marlon, we'll go to you, and I'm going to make sure you go first next time round because your content and your fire. How'd you top that, Marlon?
You can't really top it with Sir Alf Ramsey. You kind of got to look at it like this. England have only ever won 1 World Cup. Spurs have only ever won 2 titles in their history, and he was part of that. And if you're putting both of them in the same breath, legendary status. You can't say any more about the man. He's a Sir for a reason, and it's Sir Alf Ramsey. Respect his name when he came from Spurs.
Marlon's just dropped the mic. Marlon has just dropped
on his
the
name.
mic big time. So yeah, that's Alf done. Next one, we got some big hitters today, and there was no bigger, as in size and build, as this man here. And all I will say before we talk about him is just look at the training complex behind him. Look at the state-of-the-art trees and goalposts. I'm sure there's some jumpers lying about, but listen,
we've gone from Mr. England to Mr. England.
Very good. Look at that. You always go first. We'll go Ben, guest me, because that's how we've done it every way. I kind of chimed in rudely. So Ben, take it away, bro.
Again, it's not really something I can comment on because my dad was 7 when he played for Tottenham. So I'm not going to know much, but 300 appearances and look at all those trophies. Another legend of the football club. Another legend, part of that really good side that battered Chelsea in the 67 Cup final. We were talking just backstage, Brian, about the players in that team. And they were just class. They were just class as a winning unit. They were brilliant footballers. They were hard footballers. But they weren't going to get beat. But that partnership with Dave Mackay and Mike England, with Cyril Knowles and Joe Kinnear, imagine that playing over the league title. It's a brilliant partnership. And Pat Jennings in goal. It's an amazing team. And then you have Greaves and Gilzine at the helm at the top. It's unbelievable, the team they had. So yeah.
Correct. We'll go to you first, Marlon.
Look, I'm not going to sit there and say I know much about Michael England or I've watched many of his footages, but I have one VHS and it's got the League Cup final of 71 and 73 on it, and I've watched them both. And you just need to watch that to know who Mike England is. Brilliant number 5. The team around him was great, but he was great. And you have to win 4 major trophies with Spurs again. Tough feat, and that's why he's a legend. Probably not the most well known, but he's still a legend at Spurs due to what he is and how he played.
He doesn't have a posh name like Scotland or Wales or Ireland.
No, but he was from Wales, so we've gone from.
Funny you should say that. Funny you should say that.
Go on.
In 1958, Mike England played for Wales against Scotland, and he came up against some obscure Scot by the name of, hold on, I just look this up 1 second. Alex Ferguson. Yes, Alex Ferguson. Apparently, that's true. So Mike England played for Wales against Scotland against Alex Ferguson in 1958.
There you go. So
that's a fact.
I think there's the shelf side in Rez coming out there with La Histoire.
It is.
You have, but Joe, all I can say is with Mike England, I can say in my lifetime, I don't count the cups that we won when I was younger and I can't remember. We've won 3 cups that I remember, that I can remember clear as day. 91, 99, 08. He's won more in 300 games, and I think we've seen a lot more than 300 games. What can you say? What can you say about a guy? Obviously, again, how many games did we have? 300.
Yeah.
Listen, it's very rare that players play that amount of time, and you mentioned the players he played along with, Ben, but to win 4 trophies with this club was the norm.
From what I understand, he wasn't always the most popular among Spurs fans at the time.
Cold.
Well, I understand, but yeah, there's no denying it. 300 games. There's a reason for that. You know, there's a reason for that. It's he played more games for Spurs than he did for any other club that he played for. So yeah,
there you go. And I'll tell you what, we're moving on to the next player now. People watching this advent calendar list that we're doing, we're trying to find with certain players the iconic moment, the iconic image of their time at Tottenham. And I don't think in the 24 days we're doing and the Christmas Day bonanza we're going to do, you're going to find a more iconic photo of a more iconic moment than that.
Who?
His name was Richard Aston. Richard Aston.
Richard Villa.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Ben, fire away, brother. I mean, we're all going to have a bit to say about this guy.
Yeah. The most iconic goal in English football final history. Any of them. Bar none.
It's the greatest goal. It is the greatest goal.
In a final.
None other comes close. Even now, I mean, that was in 1981. I mean, come on. You know, nothing.
Just a nice bloke as well. A really nice bloke for anyone that's ever met him. Top footballer. Was part of the first ever duo of Argentinian players to come to England with Ozzy Ardiles, who's also a really lovely bloke. It's just like, you can't fault the man. You can't fault him. Tottenham legend, great goal scorer. What a guy. What a guy.
Go on, Marlon. What have you got to say about the great man?
Do you know, it's quite funny because you hear a lot of things about what's said about Ricky Villa, and he's come out and said this. He's always going to be remembered for one game only. And actually, he actually says his whole Spurs career, he was a poor player. He said he weren't even that great, but he said because of that final, he just gets legendary status wherever he goes. And at the end of the day, his goal wasn't just voted by Spurs fans as the greatest goal to be scored at Wembley. It was voted by nationwide, and with Ricky Villa, you just got to take it on the chin. But yeah, Ozzy was probably the better one out of the two. But Ricky Villa made sure that shirt is seen every time the FA Cup final comes on. They will just show that goal over.
You have to.
Yeah. So it's he's got legendary status for that one moment of brilliance.
Right.
I don't know how accurate this is. This is one thing. From what I understand, is it true that Keith Birkinshaw went over to sign Ozzy, and Ozzy insisted that Ricky also be signed at the same time? And I mean, thank God he did, because it won us an FA Cup. There's what can you say? I mean, he's iconic. There is no other way of putting it. He's an iconic player. This is what is one of the things that makes Spurs such a historic club. We've got moments like that. I mean, not just the goal itself, but the signing of a player like that. It's so wrapped up in all sorts of different things as well. You got to bear in mind that the year after, we were at war with Argentina. And those two guys were here during that conflict. It's just so wrapped up in that romance of the FA Cup. The magic of the cup. It's stuff like that makes it magical, and we've contributed a huge amount of that as a club to that. Which other club had the vision, the balls, the forethought to say, do you know what? That's a World Cup winner we've got there with Ozzy Ardiles. I'm going to go sign him. Obviously, Keith would say it in a Yorkshire accent. You know what? That's a World Cup winner there. I'm going to go sign him. Something like that. Hi, Yorkshire people. So yeah, but it's stuff like that. That's what makes this club what it is, or what it was. But yeah, this is the sort of things that we should be doing more of. This sort of stuff that we're famous for.
Actually buying,
and also buying players of that ilk, like Ricky Villa. That you think he only made 2 substitute appearances for Argentina in that World Cup campaign. He wasn't a mainstay. It was all about Ozzy. And so, people thought, well, we all know this little one, but who's this tall bean sprout who's come along with him? Is he his friend? And it turns out that, he was just as important to us as Ozzy was to the club at the same time. So, yeah, amazing stuff.
So yeah, maybe.
Rate Rez's Yorkshire accent out of 10. We want to see all your things. We want to see all your accent rating.
You know what? I reckon it's champion.
I'm not in the face you forward as well, but yeah, what can I say? I can confirm that Ricky Villa story because I went to a Legends night with Ozzy, with Birkinshaw, and Mickey Hazard, and there's actually a very funny story that I'm going to tell, but I'm going to tell that because it's Ozzy that told it. So in 2 days' time, when you're watching day 7, spoiler alert, there's a funny Ozzy Ardiles story coming. But people got to remember, in that 81-82, the 81 FA Cup final, he got substituted in the first leg, or the first match, and stormed off. He was so pissed off. And it weren't with the manager, he was pissed off with his performance.
Yeah.
And then obviously the replay came. He scored the first goal after Ozzy pretty much danced around all the team. You've also got to look at, if people haven't seen, and I'm sure, Marlon, you may have seen it on one of your videos that you've got, and Rez, he scored one hell of a banger against Wolves in the UA. Oh my God. If the net hadn't been there, that ball would still be probably flying. You see shots being fired. That was a rocket. And I will always say, when it comes to this 81 Cup final, my dad has told me, and it was proudly at the time, and he was at home, so don't worry, he won't drink driving, but he can't decide whether he downed a bottle of whiskey the quickest in the 81 replay or the 84 UEFA Cup win. But it's 2 claims for fame.
So in the comments below, what you think Brian's done?
He told me he smashed a bottle of whiskey, but the quickest he'd ever had done. But yeah, listen, that guy, like you said, well, one thing I will say about this, and we've done this a few times now, Ben, we talk about double acts that we've signed, whether it be Walker and Norton, Dawson and Reed, Simon Davies and Matthew Etherington, whether it be whoever it may be. I think you cannot beat as a double act ever because of the time they came and what Rez mentioned as well. And back then, you didn't go sign Argentinians. If you speak to people back then, signing a player from Ireland was signing an overseas player. That's like the extent. So to get those 2 was incredible. Now, talking about one incredible...
Signing a player from Scotland was signing from overseas, apparently.
Exactly. Well, you listen, we come to the last 2 players, and these 2 players won't need any introduction. These last 2 players, we will all have something to talk about. Yeah. And I have to make sure this guy went in. Let's talk about the Pitbull. Let's talk about Edgar, or should I say Super Edgar Davids. Ben, off you go, brother.
An iconic footballer in every sense of the word. He is, for the amount of clubs he played for, I don't have the list of which teams he played for, but just his glasses, because of the condition he had, makes him iconic. But then you add to the fact he was an unbelievable footballer. Like we were a dodgy football team back in like the early when Yol just took over. You bring in Edgar Davids, and he made us a unit. Like people say, like you see 40 games, you say, oh, he probably wasn't that great. It's the end of his career. He made us a unit. He was a top player for Tottenham. He worked his absolute arse off in that midfield. He was the glue that kept that team together. We also had players like Tommy Huddleston in the team. Ledley King was in the team. A few really decent footballers. Robbie Keane, who he had an iconic punch-up with. He was the glue in that team, and he drove us forward. But so Edgar Davids was, even at that age, one of the most iconic footballers of all time.
Well, we were soft. We were very soft.
Yeah.
Until he turned up.
Got rid of that.
Know?
Instantly.
We'd had years of just being. I mean, it was right in the depths of the dark times, as we should refer to them, otherwise known as the 90s. I mean, we were awful. And he brought some steel, and he brought some fight, and he brought some heart, for want of a better phrase, to that side. That but even yeah, I mean, it was he's called the Pitbull for for a reason. Yol was still relatively new in position. It was still in that transitional phase where there was a spark of hope, and I think we all sort of we latched onto him a little bit as the sort of exemplar of going back to being able to sign those players that Spurs traditionally do sign. Little did we know back then how false that hope might have been, but it was an interesting one.
Marlon, what have you got to say about Edgar?
Do you know what? I fell in love with Edgar when 94-95 Ajax team. Edgar for me was one of them players. I followed his career, and I remember the day he signed for Spurs. I was watching Brimstown for some reason. I don't know why I was there, and I remember a guy said, a Spurs fan went, "Oh my God, I just heard we're signing Edgar Davids," and we all sat around. There was about 3 or 4 of us Spurs fans sat around this guy's radio waiting for the news to be announced, right? And like you all said, I don't think people realised how important he was for that first season. I think that was the sign that changed ENIC as well. We went from an 8th place finishing team to 5th. And that is how important Edgar Davids was. And I think he was so important to Michael Carrick's career as well, when he came into the midfield. And I remember at one point we had him, Michael Brown, and Carrick all playing in the midfield before Michael Brown kind of got moved out. But yeah, so important to everything that happened to Spurs after that. And one of those signings that we kind of, people go, he didn't play many and he was at the tail end of his career. But that season he had was so important. And that one goal against Wigan, great goal. Like, we don't forget it.
Marlon, that goal was the epitome of it, wasn't it? Grab the ball from the halfway line, drag the team by the scruff of the neck and go, right, here we go. I mean, the story I could tell about him is I used to say to my dad when we were watching football, I love Edgar Davids. Just the way he played football, the iconic glasses. Love him, love him, love him. Could you imagine if Tottenham signed him? This was like 2 years before we signed him. The year we signed him, I'd moved to Israel. And this is before smartphones came out, and this is before you could just WhatsApp or whatever. And my dad messaged me and said, "Brian, your dreams come true." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then literally he goes, "I'm going to call you now." But one of the things he said, it was about, I think, 10 o'clock Israel time. He went, "Are you drunk?" And I went, yes, I am. And he goes, "Oh, good. You'll be in a good mood to hear this." And he said we signed Edgar Davids. I went running around my kibbutz like the happiest day of my life. I jumped into the swimming pool fully clothed, realised that I had my phone in my pocket, and trashed the phone. Thank you, but do you know what? It was totally worth it. What an icon. And do you know what? I saw him, people would have seen him at Ledley King's testimonial. One of the best players on the pitch still, even though it's the muckabout. Yeah. And thankfully, I got to meet him quite a few times because he moved to Hadley Wood, even when he was manager of Barnet, which is about a 5-minute drive from me as Rez and Ben. And Marlon's been to so he lived very, very close to me. He was always in the nice bakery and coffee shops that we had in Cockfosters. Wonderful guy, and just can you imagine if we'd had him a couple of years before?
That's iconic as well from Edgar.
Story about Edgar Davids, though. Just as you mentioned, Barnet. So as you know, he managed Barnet for a couple of years. There's a story. I don't know if you guys saw it at the time. I think it would have been 2013, about 10 years ago or so. When he was managing Barnet, they'd gone up to Accrington Stanley.
Who are they?
Who are they, exactly? And they'd lost, and actually Davids played because he's playing manager for them. He played in that game and he got 2 yellows and got sent off, and he was their manager as well and captain. Anyway, they were on the team coach on the way back, and they're on the M6 motorway, and the coach passed, and they saw on the hard shoulder a group of travelling fans who had broken down. So Edgar Davids tells the driver to pull in at the next service station. He tells all of his players to get off, and then he tells the driver to drive back up the M6 and turn around and pick up these stranded fans and take them to the next service station so they can get help for the breakdown.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean, so he's a legend wherever he goes. I think Barnet fans have got probably got some nice things to say about him.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, do you know
But
what?
that was iconic as well. The number one shirt on a home shirt.
Of course,
What a guy!
of course. But do you know what? We've come to the main event. There are two players in my life that I hold very, very near and dear to my heart, and there have been many Spurs players. One people will know is Paul Gascoigne, and the next is this man right here, Super Jan Vertonghen. Okay, I know Marlon, myself, and Rez will have quite a fair bit, so I'm sure you will, Ben. But this is the second greatest player to ever play for Tottenham for me, in my opinion. Not my favourite, sorry. Let's say second favourite player. Yeah. Ben, you take it away, bro.
I mean, the only game that I love that picture. That was one of my favourite ever games to watch Tottenham. That game at Wembley versus against Borussia Dortmund. I was sitting with a friend of ours, a family friend of ours, and he was like, "What do you think the score of the game was?" And I said 3-1. Of course, it turned out to be 3-1. We had no left back that game. Danny Rose was injured and Ben Davies was injured. So he played left back. And my God, that was just like, it was Jan Vertonghen versus Borussia Dortmund, and he battered them on his own, single-handedly. The cross for one of the goals, him scoring his own goal. Everything about that game was Jan Vertonghen, how good he was. That partnership we formed with Toby Alderweireld as well, absolutely sublime footballer, absolutely unbelievable, and that performance was the tip of the iceberg, really. But that's my favourite game he ever played. I just think it was so sad to have him leave the way he did, and without a protest. Because he deserved how good he was. I don't think people realise how good he was. Unbelievable servant for the football club. 232 games, the goal celebration, everything about Jan Vertonghen was class. Everything about him. I love the man.
He is one of the best central defenders the game has ever seen.
Yeah.
Right? He is still playing for the Belgian national team at the age of 36.
Yeah.
Right? Now, 36, if someone said, oh, there's a football player who's 36 years old and he's still playing at international level, you think, oh, he's a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Right? He's a central defender at 36. And the culture that oozes from this guy when he's on the pitch is unbelievable, right? He's not a bruiser. He's not a thug like John Terry. He's just silk, right? Silk encapsulated in the form of, I have to admit, my man crush, Jan Vertonghen, is the man that, if I was that way inclined, I would have as my dream lover.
I mean, you can't really say enough, really.
Marlon, after you, sir.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Jan Vertonghen, for me, is not one of the greatest players Spurs have. He's such a legend in my eyes, right? And the problem I had with Jan Vertonghen when he first signed was he was going to be Ledley King's replacement.
Yeah.
And that for me, I went, no one can replace Ledley. You can't do it. It's impossible. And so at the end of the day, he had two things he had to work on to win me over: to replace Ledley and to be such a great central defender.
Yeah.
And I just can't speak. Like, I loved every minute of him while he was here. I enjoyed him while he was here. And what people don't realise is Toby Alderweireld's career went downhill at Spurs when Jan was injured and not fit.
Exactly.
And the only reason he left was because Mourinho didn't put a word in for him, because Mourinho hated him because of the Fernando Torres situation when he got Torres sent off. Because Torres wasn't asked.
But yeah, with Jan Vertonghen, I just wish, if he ever gets to watch this, he doesn't realise. And that Superman celebration, my favourite superhero, he got me. He just won me over within his first season under AVB, and from then his time on the potch, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe we signed this player. We beat Arsenal into signing him, and I'm glad we got him and they got Marlon.
He wanted to come to Spurs. He wanted to come to Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, Rez, Marlon, sorry. First of all, what I will let you know is everyone we release of these, if they have a social media account, I'm tagging them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So I'm hoping. One thing I will say, Jan has liked a couple of my tweets before, and I get so giddy, like a schoolgirl crush. Like, oh my God,
I have to say, Jan, if you're watching, you don't know how much I, as a Spurs fan, miss you. Right?
Yeah,
I had a tear in my eye when we found out that you were leaving.
Yeah.
Do you know what? The best thing about the Amazon documentary was the last bit that we got to see him go. Right, everything else was absolutely rubbish, but that for me was iconic because I can go back and watch it, and I do. I go back and watch it over and over again. Every time I'm just feeling that I need to be, I just need to see my Spurs. I just go see that Jan clip, and for me, he's probably my favourite Enoch signing, and that's the only thing I'll ever give him praise for.
Well, you look at this, Marlon. You mentioned and Rez mentioned about how he wanted to come to Spurs. I actually knew about Jan Vertonghen before we were signing, because when I lived in Israel, as I mentioned, I got friendly with a lot of Dutch people. We kept in contact, and then when the rumours started coming, they're like, please don't take him, keep an eye on this. I started watching him religiously. I was like, wow, what a player. And then there's the moment I fell in love with him immediately was, I think Rez alluded to it, there's a meeting, you can find it on YouTube, where he's at the end of the season. It's obviously between us and the filth, and there's a reporter that goes, how's your future? And he goes, we're getting there. We're getting there? He goes, do you know where you want to go? And he went, yeah. And he goes, is it Tottenham? And he winked and just went, yeah. And I was like, I love you immediately. Do you know what? You look at it. As again, me and Marlon, with Van der Ven, this is how we started talking. Like, I don't know what it is about that. Maybe it's because I'm left-footed. Left centre backs always are ranked high with me. But if you want to look at
my favourite videos of Jan Vertonghen is recently playing for Anderlecht, and they mic'd him up for the game.
Yep.
Like, the absolute beauty. Like, that is a man that you want to be your captain. Everything about him. He's just.
I can't tell you how many times I type into YouTube Jan Vertonghen, Tottenham, and just watch compilations.
Yeah.
Just watch compilations of this guy, the skill, the passing, the everything. But one thing, and I always say this about him, I always say it, over Toby, over everyone, he got what it means to be a Tottenham player, and the bond with Tottenham Hotspur fans immediately. As soon as he was called Super Jan, the iconic, like we saw on that picture, he was as tough as nails. He was as tough as nails. You look at he still tried to play in that Ajax semi-final with a major concussion. Nowadays he would have been off immediately. He was seeing stars, let alone whatever else he was seeing. But like we said, the day he left, and obviously we watched that All or Nothing documentary, and a certain person goes, yeah, thank you, here's a watch that we're sponsored by, so it wasn't even a gift, we were given this, let me just pass it on to you.
It's clogging up the storeroom here. You have it.
If there's ever a man that I say I want to come back to this club in any capacity, whether it be a coach, whether it be a scout, whether it be an ambassador, whether it be whatever it may be, as we've all said, our love for this guy is like absolutely unrivaled. And as we all said, I'm hoping we should all do a deli wave to Jan just in case he does watch this. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. Hi Jan. Hi Jan. Yeah.
Also, hi Brian.
That will end the.
Hi Brian. Sorry.
That will bring an end to the Advent Calendar Day 5. But before we say that, big thank you to Rez and Marlon. And Marlon, you've made your debut. We won't be waiting long for your second appearance. That's for damn sure. We'll make sure we do a bit together. 2 channels come together. Tell everyone about the incredible South View COYS.
So yeah, it's three of us. It's me, Ashmatic, and Haz. We also have a panel on a Friday. So we do Tuesdays. We do news and views with Ashmatic. So come over and watch that. That seems to be everyone's Spurs fans' every favorite show. We've got a rival show that Haz and Ashmatic do on a Wednesday. So if you at the moment a lot of rivals, if you do end up coming, come over to that. We get different views. We've got a preview panel show, which I call a bit of a funny one. We don't take it seriously. We preview the game, but the three boys on it just have so much good chemistry, and that's Haz, Harry, and TJ. And then we obviously still do the match reactions, what we're known for. But yeah, come over to South View COYS TV. Three of us there, different shows. Pick one, come over.
Yeah.
Reginald, where can people find you?
Nowhere. I am adrift. I am bereft. I have no presence. No longer do I grace the airwaves. I'm gone.
He's got no presents.
Nowhere.
How are you on a Christmas show then? No presents.
No presents.
There's the
I'm around, you know. I'm available for whoring myself. I mean, appearing on people's shows if they wish me to appear. So yes, that's where I'll be next. Anywhere that someone feels I should appear, I'll probably turn up on Ben's stream at some point. Because I'm a bit like that. But yeah, just wherever really.
Yeah, Ben, what have you got coming up on the coffee shop, brother?
Usual stuff, chill talk, coffee, having fun, and all the good stuff. So coffee company, I'm doing the Johnny. There we go. The coffee company, find us over there, have some good time, and let's drink coffee together.
There we go. I mean, I've realised I've got very, very vain with my hat placement here. I need to keep an eye.
It's no, I like it. I like it. That sort of jaunty angle. That's right.
It's when we talk about French people, I think I wear it as a beret. When we talk about, I'm gonna have to.
Beret's got a lid. You know, that's the crown.
I've got a convertible beret. I've got a convertible beret. But yeah, Tottenham Tour will be back every single day with Cockerel Doodle Doo, apart from Saturdays and Sundays, and your management and all that jazz. But guys, don't forget to put in the comments who had the Christmas cracker joke and what you thought of the players. And we'll see you on day 6.
Yeah, everyone have a wonderful Christmas period. Hope you all have a great time. Spoil yourselves. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
Bye.